Let's talk to the man of the moment because a big story has dropped on thedogs.com.au this morning. I welcome in Andy Lord and say good morning to you, Andy.
How are you, mate?
I'm fantastic. Even better now that I've switched on the computer and seen this story. Little Pearls, the star attraction of the GRNSW Puppy Auction. She's a Pearl has had some pups, 4 or 5 months ago, and they'll be going to the auction. Is that right, mate?
Yeah, that's right, mate.
Tell us, Andy, was it hard to twist your arm or were you easily convinced?
Oh, no, I'm a seller, so, but I'm used to selling to the syndicates and retaining the dogs to train and that sort of stuff. And when the puppy auctions were around before, I wasn't a breeder, so I was more a buyer. And, they were very well supported, especially Dapto. It was massive. And I just think, for me, it's a hard decision to sell them and let them go. But, it's business. And, if they go for the right price, I'll let them go. If they don't, well, I'll bring them home,
Absolutely, Andy. The puppy auction making a return in May. It'll be held at Richmond. You can jump on the dogs.com.au. There's a big tab there if you want to click and find out some more information and get involved. Mate, what have the pups shown you so far? Can you give us a bit more information? And for those out there wondering price, can you give us maybe an insight into any offers you've knocked back already?
Yeah, I knocked back an offer from Ireland for $50,000 for the only bitch pup in the litter. He's still bugging me now, the bloke. But if I do sell them, I want them to stay in Australia, and that's just how I am. And I'm just sort of got no interest with overseas racing. And I'd love to keep the bitch myself, but if you're going to put them on the market, you've got to give everyone a fair go. And at the end of the day, that's sort of the benchmark I've been offered for them,
It's not just the She's a Pearls pups heading to the auction as well, Andy. I understand you've got some more good progeny coming out of some pretty good group quality races. Can you tell us who else has had some pups in the last 6 or so months and who may be heading to Richmond in May?
Yeah, I've got some Coast models. She's already had a litter to Bernardo. They're beautiful pups and they're too old for the auction. And then she's just had a litter to Beryl Frankie. So a couple of them will go through. And Bandit Jane, she's got a litter to Bernardo, and we'll put a few of them through. And Good Odds Emma, who won the Megastar, which is Frank's breed. And look, there's going to be a lot of good pups in the auction if most people turn up. I believe Frank's going to put in some good odds cashes, and there'll be plenty there for buyers to feast over. So it should be good.
Yeah, littered with quality. You mentioned the return of the auction, Andy, and just how much people will be excited by this prospect. It's an important stage, right, for the industry and the sport at the moment. We know there's pressure on breeders. In general, cost of living is going through the roof, so it's making it really difficult for people to even get into the game. What are some of the benefits, Andy, you see of the auction and maybe opening the eyes of new people to the sport that you and I both love?
Well, I think, pups like She's a Pearl they didn't just go out to greyhound people. It went out to everyone in the country and overseas. And, I used to have people come up to me that really had not much to do with greyhounds, and they were just gobsmacked by how much she won in prize money and that sort of stuff. So, that's what attracts new people to the game. And as far as breeders go, well, the prize money is good, and you've got to remember that's for trainers and owners, but not for breeders. A lot of breeders sell their pups, and they rely upon trying to get really good money from them. And lately that hasn't been happening. I think just with the way the world is at the moment, there's not a lot of money around. People are hanging on to their pups because they can't get what they want for them, and this gives them an opportunity to get some money back and keep things going because, as I said, there's no breeders' incentive scheme. But this is very similar to one where, a breeder can take 4 or 5 of his pups out of the litter and get, always at the auctions, you can get overs. If people want a pup, they'll bid and bid and bid till they get it. And the good thing for owners is that puts money in the bank for them to keep going. Because look, if anyone's suffering in the sport a little bit at the moment, it would be the breeders,
There's a really big carrot on the end of the stick as well for pups that go in the auction, Andy. Of course, the auction race series, it'll be run in October or November next year, and it'll be worth $150,000. It's the fourth most lucrative prize money race in greyhound racing in our state. Really looking forward to this, mate. I reckon there's going to be a real buzz, not only around Richmond, but around the industry itself when the auction gets underway in a couple of months' time. We're listening to Andy Lord on Going Greyhounds this morning, mate. Let's turn our attention to another big race coming up, the Bulli Gold Cup. The heats are on Sunday. You've got 4 in, Andy. So we work through from start to finish. We'll begin with Nangar Larry, race 6, the first heat of the Cup, worth 40 grand. Jumped from box 7, and he's in pretty good form. Andy, do you think?
Yeah, I took them all down, trialled them there on Monday, and the clock, the clock didn't work, and so that sort of set me back a little bit. But Nangar Larry is really suited to the U-turn, and I think he'll go extremely well in the Bulli Cup, and, things like the Golden Cup and whatever comes up on he's a high-speed dog, and he's boxed well on Sunday, so it's a good field. There's Zipping Megatron and the dog that won the Derby in it, but he's up to them, and I reckon he'll be hard to beat.
Yeah, it's salivating. History's coming, of course. Wonderful record at Bulli before going to Wenty Park and winning that Derby just under a month ago. We go to Heat 2 of the Cup, race 7. Box 4, you've got Screaming Jet. I'm not going to say out of form, but only 2 wins since July last year, but has been racing in top company and is a pretty honest chaser. Yeah,
he's a very good dog. I wouldn't say he's dropped off form. I mean, he won 6 in a row, and he hit top grade really quick. And 29.50 or 60 at when he's about his time, but most top graders can run that, and until he learns to spear the lids again, and like he was before, well, he's really not going to be competitive in them races coming from behind. So somewhere like Bulli, with the big long straights, and he's been there plenty of times, may suit him. He's a dog that I wouldn't say can't win. He can win.
Another dog that maybe has cost himself a little bit with his box manners or jumping or not jumping is Mr. Yellowstone. Race 8, heat number 3. He's got the squeeze box, which certainly won't help. But you said about 6 months ago, Andy, that you thought there was a big race in this dog. Do you still have that opinion of him?
I do, and I think if it's going to be, it'll be in a 600. He's desperate for 600, and after Bulli, we're going to put him over it, and he can run phenomenal times. Goes good on a U-turn, goes good at Wenny, but he is in and out, coming out of the boxes, and he hasn't got the best field sense, so he can find trouble. And he's got a good win record, but he is a little bit. He's got to have things go his own way, over the shorter distance. I think there's a future for him over 600, but we'll wait and see.
Is the Country Classic maybe on the agenda, Andy, after the Bulli Cup?
Yeah, 100%.
Beautiful. There you go. Mr. Yellowstone maybe heading towards the Country Classic final at Dubbo, mid-March. That'll be held. Of course, the Richmond and the Clarence and a bunch of those heats going off over the next couple of weeks in preparation for that. We finished with Can You Smoke 'Em? Old Smoky for our mate Mark Duclos. This is a heck of a story, Andy. Did a hock in, I'm going to say, around Easter last year, and you've been on record saying you've never brought a dog back from an injury like that, but this guy is back, and not only that, he looks like the dog that won the $1 million Chase Maiden again. Tell us about him.
Yeah, I wish I brought the others back after him. I always was of the opinion after, I used to check a lot of dogs for other people, and, they'd always have problems with hock injuries when they come back, and Bandit Ned done his nowhere near as bad as Can You Smoke 'Em, but Can You Smoke 'Em actually broke his quite good, and he had a plate in there and 2 screws, and from that day, he was going to be very easy to rehome. He's a magnificent animal, very quiet. But one thing the vet said to me, he said the hardest bones he ever had to drill, and he was in plaster, and 2 weeks home he was running around on the plaster, and we couldn't stop him. He just, even in the kennel, he'd be jumping up and down on the plaster. And so after 6 weeks, I had the plate taken out and the screws, and we give him another 6 weeks off, and he just never, he come back as quick as he ever was. I mean, he at the trial before the stewards at Goulburn and went 1950. You can count on your hands how many dogs run that. And he hasn't stopped winning since. He's a great dog, you know.
Yeah, he's won 3 of his last 4, and he's done it different tracks and distances as well. A really good story, and testament to you and the training performances of yourself and Jodie down there at Gunning. Mate, I speak of Jodie, of course, a bunch in her name over the next couple of days. Dapto tonight, Goulburn tomorrow, and even Wenty Park over the weekend. Is there any dogs that we can get behind, Andy? And tell us a little bit more about this Omega leader as well, because they're certainly showing something.
Yeah, I got 3 of the Omega dogs. They come down from Sale, and they've all got untold ability. They're probably the oldest young dogs I've ever had. They weren't broken into, though, a 2-year-old, and they're over 2.5 now. But I think there's a good race in the 3 of them, probably more so the 2 that won at Goulburn. But they're high-speed dogs, and they can run very fast time, and we'll probably get to see them over the next few months. And obviously, Jodie's got a stack of pups coming through. This time of the year, we have a bit of a rest over Christmas and probably send a few of the dogs to Adelaide and that sort of stuff and bring all the pups in them. And we've got plenty of them, all out of good brood bitches. So I expect to see them coming up over the next few months. And there's some nice ones there, you know.
Can you tell me, Andy, and tell the listeners out there, maybe the dog to follow from your kennel in 2024 and maybe the youngster who they can earmark as well to watch this year?
Yeah, I've got a Droopy's Sydney litter out of Just Terms that they're very, very high speed. I mean, they're only 14 months old, but what they can run, would shock you. And I've got a litter of Flying Ricardos out of one of Peter Spatiri's bitches. He owns them, and I've got high hopes for them. And as far as perform dogs go, we'll just keep backing every dog because we're trying hard all the time.